Okay, I thought to make this video like I normally do, but I scrapped it mainly because I've been flipping back and forth trying to rewrite the original video. It's the main reason why this video didn't come out until now. But just to get my thoughts on the show, I didn't really like Garo that much. I only watched the first season, Chapter of the Black Wolf, so I'm just sticking to that, not the whole entire series. But who knows, maybe I'll talk about the future seasons one day. I mean, there are other seasons, and some of them take places in alternate universes, like there is an anime version of Garo, but for now, I'll just stick to the Chapter of the Black Wolf. Now, I didn't like it mainly for, well, the story and characters. To get the characters out of the way, I just found them boring. Now, they had good setups, but I just didn't like them. Koga, he is cold and distant at the start, and that's mainly because of his childhood. Now, I did give you that spoiler warning at the start, so don't get mad at me if you ignored it. As the son of a Makai knight, he spent his childhood training to take the title of Garo. Eventually, his father had to deal with some unfinished business, and Koga followed him, only to see him getting killed. Koga closed himself off after this event, forming a pact with his ring named Zaruba, and started training to wield his father's sword. Since he was a kid when this happened, again, it caused him to close himself off, until Garo came into the picture. In the first episode, she got her artwork into her art gallery, and thanks to her not running away and the curator getting turned into this creature called a horror, she's now marked with death. Pretty much after a couple of weeks or months, I'm not really sure when, sorry, memory's bad, she'll just straight up die a slow and painful death. But then again, she could be eaten by a horror at first because, well, they tend to like the smell of their own blood. Over the course of the show, Koga does get closer to Garo, and apparently they do get married in a later season, but I don't think it's shown that much. I really only say that because he doesn't drop his guard that much during the show, and if you're going to bring up the whole purification thing, from my understanding, that was actually introduced very early on, his intent to purify her, and then towards the end, that's when he actually was able to, because he needed to set up a ritual in order to go to where the one item that he needs for the purification ritual. So I don't really count that. Other than that, I can actually only remember one time where it actually felt like he got closer to Garo, and that's in my favorite episode actually, episode 11, Game, and it was just a chuckle at the end of the episode. And that was it. It's a bit of a disappointment because you don't really get a lot of emotion out of his actor. It was mainly this scene, a scene at the end with a recurring storybook. His crying there was perfect.
Oh, let me taste your tears, Scott. Your tears are so yummy and sweet.
And shit, I almost forgot to mention his rage in the Fish Lady episode. Other than that, I just didn't like his actor, and I didn't really like his arc during the show. In US Kitchen Nightmare terms,
bland, tasteless, raw meat, no flavor.
A good foundation, mind you, but nothing that got my attention. Zero, he has the same problem, but add a dash of emo. His backstory is he was training to become a knight to take over his father's title, since his father is about to knock on the door of death. One night, a man killed the girl he loved and his father, and seeking revenge, he tracked down Koga since he has the title of Garo, and the murderer did use the Garo style of fighting. I mean, don't get me wrong, it makes sense on why Zero wanted to track Koga down, but he doesn't really do that much research on him. I mean, I only say that because Zero kind of jumped between sides. I mean, that's an over-exaggeration, because at first he was just a lone warrior, then worked with the guard dogs because of the promise they made him, then Koga. And it's just him joining up with Koga kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. Then again, I was staring at my phone for most of the time because the show did bore the hell out of me, so I must have missed why he joined sides with Koga. It's just on the surface, it didn't really make that much sense to me at all. Now, Garo, I don't have a lot to say about her. Her actress Hiji Mika gives the best performance in the show, but that's about it. And now that I think about it, that's all I can say about her. Shit, I actually forgot about her main purpose in the show other than bringing Koga out of his shell. I mean, she does have a good arc about her trying to get closer to her late father by looking into a storybook that he wrote but never finished. But I never really gave it that much thought. Hell, I actually forgot about it until the show itself brought it back up, and it's just, part of it could just be because the show bored me so much I just kept forgetting about it. Though it wasn't just because of the characters, as I already stated, it's also because of the story. Now, I mentioned these horrors, well, they're the main antagonist force throughout the whole entire series. These are creatures that just want to eat humans. Some will just straight up kill and eat. Others will toy with their prey first. One could fuck with a human's emotions, causing them to feed women to it. One could cure them ailments and try to make the human flesh taste better. One could have the humans just kill themselves via a violent riot. Now, I love the concept of horrors, but one big problem are their designs. After rewatching the show, I could not tell you the name or give an accurate description of any of them. Well, maybe except for Dantarian, but that's only his human form. I just love the dude's actor, and he needs to host a game show if he hasn't. And his horror form, it's just bad. It looks like a generic human bug thing with a laser tag filter over it. But my only problem with the horrors is, well, the lack of world building, because they come from this place called Makai, and, well, I don't know what Makai is supposed to be exactly, because each horror Koga kills is pretty much still on his blade that he goes to where the watchdogs are, and they seal him in these little key things that, after getting X amount, are supposed to be sent back to Makai. And it's like, yo, what's the purpose of this, and what's the purpose of doing this? And it's like, we don't really get that much of an answer to it. We eventually learn of a man named Barago, to jump back to the story, and he was a cannibal of sorts. Pretty much he was trained by Koga's father, Taiga, to take up arms as a Makai knight. Now, eventually, Barago went over the deep end and started to eat horrors. He did this because he was promised power from a horror called Messiah. Working with a watchdog, he gained evil powers by not just eating the horrors, but running out his time while being morphed. Since Messiah needed a vessel to actually come back, he found a perfect host, and at the end, he got backstabbed. I don't know, it just kind of felt like he came out of nowhere. Well, not entirely. You see, when Karu talked to the psychologist, it was actually Barago keeping a watch on Karu under the guise of him doing research on the human mind. No clue where he got all the cash from, but I don't know, I didn't like him. His true intentions was shown very late into the game, and before he was just this random dude Karu would talk to and get paid for it. I just didn't find him to be the mastermind he was. It's not because he got stabbed in the back at the end, but it's just, I don't know, I kind of wish in early episodes you got to see him keeping an eye on Karu, since she was supposed to be the vessel for Messiah. I guess you do kind of have that with Karu helping him out with his non-existent research, but I mean, I think it would have been best to like plant the seeds, like having a cloaked figure watching after Koga as he kills a horror that went after Karu to make sure his plans are still good. I mean, there's still the watchdogs, they can tell him what's going on, but even then, I only remember like one time we saw Barago enter their domain. I mean, I don't know, less can be more, but less does limit storytelling in a way. Though, in terms of characters that got introduced late into the game, the one character that got the worst treatment because of this is Jabby. She got introduced with some fanfare, but then got killed in the next episode. I feel like they wanted to set something up with her, but nope, she just got killed like it was every horror movie ever made. The fucked thing is, I think the writers wanted her death to really mean something, but as soon as she exploded, I actually laughed, and it's only because it was so sudden, and don't get me wrong, a sudden death can work. Whether it's in a literal sense like here, or in a sports film like Dodgeball at Your Underdog Story, yes, I know what I just said, it's a good way to add tension to a story if used right. I guess a good example could be in Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3. Major spoilers for that game, so skip here if you haven't played it. You have been warned! The example I bring up is related to a character named Shinjiro. You learn some guilt he has as a Persona user and a growing tension with another character named Ken. It's revealed that Shinjiro accidentally killed Ken's mother, and Ken joined to get his revenge. And on October 4th, Ken confronts Shinjiro about it, and then an organization called Strega comes into the picture. Well, it's actually just their leader, Takeya, wanting revenge for himself since, well, they killed an important member of Strega. It's a shocking scene, and the tone of death is woven beautifully into the narrative. Ken will need a lot of therapy in the end, but the main reason that makes his sudden death impactful, at least in my opinion, is actually knowing these characters. I don't need a full-out arc, but enough screen time to get to know the character. Shit, I'm also reminded about Nada from Kishuru Sentai Ryosoulja. Nada, well, he didn't really get that much development, but when he fought to free his friends, it stuck with me. When he kicked it at the end and gave his powers to Ko, I screamed no because I actually started to like him. In fact, I actually wrote him off as irrelevant when he was first introduced. He was just someone who needed some guidance, though lost his way and put the Geisorg armor on. Now, I'm not going to waste your time, specifically because there's a reason why putting on the Geisorg armor is a bad thing, but in general, for here, Jabby, she just needed more screen time if the writers wanted me to care about her death. Now, throughout the story, there's a horror movie feel to it, but it's not disturbing, like at all. There's 2 episodes that had potential, but they kind of dropped the ball. The first one that comes to mind is episode 17, Fish Tank. Pretty much a dude who's down on his luck finds an abandoned fish. You know, as you do. When trying to figure out what it wants to eat, he cuts his finger on the bowl and finds out it likes blood. The fish, named Haru, starts demanding human sacrifices, specifically of women.
Feed me. Does it have to be human? Feed me. Does it have to be mine? Feed me.
Each sacrifice, she takes a body part from them, making them her own, until the final target is revealed to be Kaoru. Koga saves the day, and we see Haru's true form. It's a disgusting fish creature. I mean, it didn't shock me, and I guess you could say I saw it coming. The other episode is episode 15, Doll. It had an amazing start with an artist who looks like he's been struggling until horror takes him over. Where it drops the ball is when he's toying with his first victim. Well, actually, I guess you could say it dropped the ball when the horror was actually possessing him, because I don't know, you tell me what this looks like. Jokes aside, the actress, she acts beautifully here. I would probably act this way too if I was put in her situation. The statue the artist is toying with corresponds to her body, so when he twists her arm, her physical arm does the same, and cutting the leg causes it to come off. Now, the problem here is the use of special and practical effects. When the arm gets twisted, it spins too quickly to the point of it being comedic, and the leg, well, I mentioned practical effects, but there are none. It just falls down when the statue leg is cut. They just needed to use some practical effects for this, like actually having the leg come off. Though, that may have been held back due to some sort of laws in Japan. But then again, if you can show a topless woman, then why not gore? But, oh well. Now, it's just the special effect with the hand spinning around, that just needed to be slowed down and probably a little more realistic. And they needed to use some practical effects in this scene, because acting can only get you so far. Other downside about the story is, well, the world building. I really didn't know why some of this stuff was happening. And the stuff I really wanted to know was, like, why there was a time limit when a knight was morphed, though that does get an explanation, though it pisses me off where I get it. What are the horrors and what's up with this Makai place? Because after X amount of horrors are captured, they have to get sent back there. I wanted to know about these things, but I didn't really get a reason either at all or until some time close to the end. I mean, some stuff you can definitely infer, but it's just other things I just wanted to know a reason for it. But let me bring back that time limit example. Now, you see, I skipped the clip show episode, which explained the time limit. Now, why does this piss me off? Well, clip shows used to save money. I say it's best to use a clip show for characters to reflect on the events that transpired. My example for this is Kamen Rider Dragonite, where characters will, as already said, reflect on the events that transpired throughout the show up until that point. It doesn't just show the clips and explain to the viewers what's going on like it does here. Though for whatever reason they made Zaraba talk to himself, and if I was Koga I would have thought Zaraba went insane. But it's just, I don't need a full-out history lesson about the Makai Knights and all that, but I just want to know, like, why they do the things they do. But hey, just in general, the story is a letdown for me. And if I would score it, I would give it a 3. It was just boring with lame characters, yet great action, actually. It's the only saving grace. Well, except for the CGI, I don't like the animation to it, and the models don't look so well. Now, if you're going to watch the chapter of the Black Wolf, it's slowly being made available here on YouTube. Just head to the Garo Project YouTube channel, and there you go. Now, the episodes are actually getting remastered, and last time I checked, the first 3 episodes are available. And they do have English subtitles available if you can't understand Japanese, though you can always turn it off to practice your Japanese speech skills. That's always a fantastic option. Now, for ultimate recommendations I give Kishuru Sentai, Ryo Soulja, and Resident Evil 7. In Ryo Soulja, we follow the members of the Risol tribe, who trains 5 teenagers with attitude to become warriors to defend the Earth against Drudons, an evil force bent on destroying the world. When they finally decide to show their ugly faces, they ransack one of the villages of the Risol tribe, causing the deaths of 3 of the previous Ryo Souljas, and causing the new red, blue, and pink rangers to go out into the outside world and find the green and black rangers to stop the Drudons. In Resident Evil 7, we follow Ethan Winters, a man who's trying to find his missing wife. He does end up finding her in one of the worst places to be. I mean, this is Resident Evil, mind you. Wherever there's a viral outbreak, it's bound to become hell on Earth. But here, it's a little more darker. The virus here takes over the minds of the Baker household, causing them to hold on to Ethan's wife, Mia, for reasons unknown. Ethan coming to save her puts a damper on the plans, but things aren't going to go as well as Ethan thinks. Mia goes insane trying to kill him, then Ethan encounters Jack Baker for the very first time, getting knocked out, and when he awakes, he meets the rest of the Baker household, save for one. And it's up to him to save his wife and escape the Baker household. If you like Garo and wanted something a little more campy or an actual horror experience, then I think I got you covered. If you didn't like Garo like me, well, I think I got y'all covered with these as well.